sounded in Israel as Iran launched another round of retaliatory strikes early Saturday. Just outside Tel Aviv, a rescue operation was underway after an Iranian missile struck an apartment building. The Israel Defense Forces said their Iron Dome system intercepted most of the missiles Iran aimed at Israel, and the U.S. provided additional help, according to White House officials. But a number of injuries were reported in Tel Aviv, where multiple sites were hit during Iran's counterattack. About 1,000 miles away in Tehran, large crowds gathered, with Iranians chanting "Death to Israel" and "Death to America." Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, vowed severe revenge, while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a direct appeal to the Iranian people.
We're also clearing the path for you to achieve your objective, which is freedom. In the past 24 hours, we've taken out top military commanders, senior nuclear scientists, the Islamic regime's most significant enrichment facility, and a large portion of its ballistic missile arsenal. More is on the way. The regime doesn't know what hit them. They don't know what will hit them.
Israeli media reported commandos from Israel's intelligence service Mossad built a drone base inside the country and used it to strike missile launchers at a military base near Tehran. And this video, released by Mossad, shows Israeli soldiers on Iranian soil. Israel also identified the homes of some Iranian military leaders, where airstrikes killed them in their beds. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
Okay, so let's get into a little bit of what's going on with all of this. So it started with rumors that the United States was pulling their ambassadors from Iraq. And there were concerns about an attack that was going to be happening. People were wondering and theorizing, is this rumors? Is Israel going to attack? Then it turned out that they were correct, and they actually did strike Iran. They claimed that Iran was a lot closer to making a nuclear weapon than anyone realized, and they had to take preventive measures and attack now. So they went ahead and did that, and then Iran responded by putting up the red flag of bullshit. You know, the red flag of revenge, because, you know, we're all very scared of that, and then vowed retaliation against Israel. And then started launching hundreds of ballistic missiles at Israel, which did overwhelm some of the Iron Dome system, and some of those missiles did hit apartment buildings and in other areas within Israel. So where we're at right now, and while that attack was happening, Israel had launched another aerial attack and was hitting air defense systems in other locations in Iran as well. So a lot happening between Israel and Iran right now. My personal opinion is, and I know everybody's split a lot with this, right? There's the people that absolutely hate Israel, so they want them to lose. There's people out there that are supporting Iran. Crazy to me. The Iranian regime is an absolute dictatorship that rules over their people with an iron thumb. Now, I think for the most part, the Iranian people are innocent. They're being held hostage by a corrupt and dangerous regime, a terroristic regime that has taken over there. Originally, I'm going to show you some pictures here of what Iran was before the mullahs and the Ayatollah took over. He was exiled at the time, just like the leadership in Russia and in other places. They get kicked out because they're scumbags and domestic terrorists, and then they find a way to weasel their way back in. In this particular case, it was the Iranian Revolution. He worked, the Ayatollah, I believe at the time, had worked with insurgents within Iran to claim to the populace that their current government was corrupt and was taking advantage of them and hurting them. And so it ended up firing all the people up because they didn't realize what was happening. They just know that their friends and their neighbors all of a sudden are telling them we're having a lot of problems here. What the leadership we have is bad. We need new leadership. And he ended up weaseling his way back in. And since that time that they've taken over, it's become what it has today. But I'm going to show you what it used to look like. Pictures here. So I think this was roughly, so this is capturing between the 1960s and the 1970s. So this was what Iran looked like at the time. You see people, they're wearing regular clothing. I mean, if I didn't tell you that I was showing you Iran right now and pictures from Iran, you might think that I was showing you Miami circa 1970. Okay, women are dressed normally. They're wearing whatever clothes they would like to wear. You see here as well, I mean, they're kind of in their own kind of hippie revolution, really. The 1970s garb that you would see that was happening even in the United States at the time. You were seeing very similar clothing styles and people dressing in that manner. You see the women doing their hair up and glasses and the men in suits and different things here. All normal style clothing. Nothing is being forced on them at the religious level. It looks like a magazine here, maybe a women's or a style magazine type of thing. And you see this woman showing off some of her wear. There's another, we got a party happening right here. Everyone, the women are in dresses. And again, everyone, this is 1970s. Again, if I didn't tell you this was Iran, you might be wondering where I'm showing you. Now, this is not allowed there anymore. This is like right before the Iranian people voted in a national referendum to become an Islamic Republic on April the 1st, 1979, and to formulate and approve a new theocratic Republican constitution whereby Khomeini became the supreme leader of the country in December of 1979. That was the revolution. The royal reign collapsed shortly after on 11th of February when guerrillas and rebel troops overwhelmed troops loyal to the Shah in armed street fighting, bringing Khomeini into official power. So before the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, if anyone knows what I'm talking about if you watch wrestling, before the Ayatollah took over, I mean, this is how people were living. They were living a normal life. Right? Now I'm going to try and show you what life is in Iran currently now after the Ayatollahs took over. Here's some visuals of Iran now. This was roughly 2023. I can dream it, but I can't afford it. The stark reality of life in Iran right now. February the 27th, 2023. I mean, do you see some of the difference here now? How the women have to dress now. They have to put the shawls on, their headgear. The men, I think, can dress, again, being in a religious Islamic country, they can dress whatever way they like. It's the women that have to adhere to these strict laws. But, I mean, look at the stark difference between, here's these women dressed whatever way they want, as if they were in Miami right now. And in 1970, and here's the women now in a market in Tehran. You see what's changed as the Ayatollah and the mullahs have taken over. There's one story where, to kind of finish up here and then make my point. There was one story here, and you guys might remember this. There was a young woman who was walking through the streets of, I think it might have been Tehran. And she didn't want to wear her head garb. She wanted to wear her head down. She wanted to dress like a normal woman. She didn't want to be forced to go through what you saw the women there going through. She wanted to dress normally, like it was the mentality of the 1970s. Now, Iran has a morality police that end up going around and enforcing religious law, making sure that everyone is complying properly with how they're living their day-to-day lives and if they're dressed appropriately, et cetera, et cetera. They ended up coming upon this woman and ordering her to put her scarf, her shawl on, and she refused because she just wanted to live life her own way and dress the way that she wanted to, as any other woman does in most of the civilized world. And she ended up being detained, and she ended up being beaten to death. And that was a kind of big news coming out of Iran at the time, because it showed somebody resisting. And then the Ayatollah, because they have a president, but the president is more of just a figurehead. That the president ends up answering to the Ayatollahs and the religious council. And they hand down law, and what you have to do. It's like their version of the Supreme Court, but they're rulers, not just lawmakers. They're rulers as well. So they hand something down to the president, and the president makes sure that happens. So he's just a figurehead more than anything. But it just went to show that the people were trying to fight back, and that young woman was killed for that. Just to dress like they did before this horrible Iranian regime took over in 1979. So you do not want this Iranian regime to get nuclear weapons. You don't want them working on a nuclear program at all. You and I don't want that. I can assure you that you don't want that. They will launch against their enemies in the Middle East. There won't be any compunction about it. Anyone saying that they're not trying to do that and they just want to make facilities in order to so they can have a nuclear, so they can have a free power program or some is bullshitting you. They're like pro-terrorists. They're not. They don't have any facts backing what they're saying when they say that. I'm showing you the stark change that happened there, and how it went from the people being free and living free to being under the iron hand of that regime. So, why we and all the rest of the Western world are trying to make deals with Iran and keep giving them money and keep jumping through hoops to play games with them is beyond me. What should be happening is what Israel is doing right now, and that's they're not bombing civilian areas; they're bombing military and nuclear areas and trying to take all of them out. And if it ends up pushing putting the regime in a very bad situation where they can be overthrown or they lose their power, and then maybe the people themselves are able to kind of take their country back, it's so much the better. So I'm hoping that Israel is successful here. My understanding is America is helping with some missile interception as well. So we're helping with that. Iran has vowed vengeance against not only Israel but the United States as well. And we didn't even attack them. The only thing we're doing is missile interception. And they're still blaming it all on us anyway, which fine. I mean, if you want to fuck around and find out, you can do that. But the Iranian regime needs to fall, and the people need to be given freedom back, like you saw in the 1970s. Before this happened, these people can live a free life again, the way they'd like to live it, or they can stay with this and being forced into radical religious Islamic law, which is what they're going through. So the fighting is going back and forth, and I'll keep you guys updated with more. The Iranian missile strikes killed at least 13, and the defense minister warns that of Israel that Tehran will burn. So I'll keep you guys updated with as more of that particular battle goes, and whether we're going to see Hamas or Hezbollah get involved to help Iran out. But we'll see how this all develops. All right. I'll talk to everybody again real soon. Thanks for all the new followers and likes. Like, share, support the show, please, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you again soon.